In 2005, Hurricane Katrina, one of the most powerful storms in U.S. history, made landfall in New Orleans, Louisiana. Ferocious winds howled, seawater surged, and floods quickly swallowed the streets. The entire city was plunged into darkness, with the wind screaming like an eerie warning. In a small house on the outskirts of New Orleans, Charlie, a 7-year-old boy, huddled with his mother and younger sister in the living room. Outside, floodwaters began to seep into the house, carrying furniture and debris. Like thousands of others, Charlie's family was trapped in the disaster. They climbed to the attic, trying to escape the rising water, but their small home was no match for nature's terrifying force. Water surged in like a monstrous beast, devouring everything in its path. In the chaos, Charlie felt his mother's hand gripping his tightly until it slipped away. A violent current tore him from her grasp, sweeping him into the vast, raging flood. Charlie panicked, thrashing in the cold, relentless water. He desperately searched for his mother and sister, but all he saw were pieces of wreckage floating aimlessly. He screamed for them, but his cries were drowned by the roar of the wind and crashing waves. He wasn't a strong swimmer. His small legs kicked frantically, struggling to stay afloat. Each time he reached out, sharp debris floated by, threatening to wound him. With nothing to hold onto, no one beside him, Charlie could only surrender to the current. Fear surged within the 7-year-old boy. Would someone come to save him in time? Or would he become yet another nameless victim swallowed by the merciless storm? Suddenly, through the chaos, a large piece of wood floated nearby. It seemed to have been torn from someone's roof, drifting aimlessly among the debris. Summoning the last of his strength, Charlie reached out and clung to it. His tiny fingers dug into the wood, his nails pressing deep as if this was his only chance to survive. The wooden plank kept him afloat, helping him balance against the raging waves. Charlie realized that if he fought against the current, he would quickly tire out. Instead, he closed his eyes, gripping the plank tightly, and let the water carry him. His tear-filled eyes gazed at the sky, where flashes of lightning illuminated the storm clouds, casting a fragile light of hope. He remembered his mother's words, "As long as you don't give up, you will find a way to survive," and he chose to believe. Amidst the unforgiving hurricane, a 7-year-old boy clung to a single hope that someone would find him before it was too late. Charlie was exhausted. His breath was labored, his tiny hands numb from gripping the wood for so long. His eyes burned from the salty water, but he forced them open, searching for any sign of hope in the endless flood. The waves still crashed, and the wind still howled, but deep inside his young heart, a small fire of survival flickered. Luckily, one of the rescuers spotted the small figure floating in the water. "There's a child here," a voice shouted. The boat quickly approached. Strong hands pulled Charlie from the water, wrapping him in a warm blanket. He curled up in their arms, his weary eyes brimming with tears. After hours adrift in the freezing floodwaters, Charlie had been saved. But the miracle didn't end there. When he was brought to the relief center, he saw a familiar figure. His mother and sister stood there, tears streaming down their faces. Without a word, they rushed into each other's arms, sobbing uncontrollably. In the tragedy of Hurricane Katrina, Charlie lost everything, but he also found the most precious thing of all, his family.